Welcome back. You are watching Brighter Morning with Bo, and I am Bo Tewarie, and you are part and parcel of what we are doing. Doing here. So we are in this together. All right, we are engaging the issues of the country together, and you are welcome to call 609-6283, 609-6284. You are welcome to call and freely express your views. Just be respectful as to how you do it. People have been wonderful so far and very, very sincere in their comments. Before we broke for the news, I was telling you that the two things that we have to watch are the amount of expenditure, whether it's going to go down, whether it's going to stay the same, or whether it's going to go up. And the second thing is the pattern of expenditure. Will it go in the same places, in the same proportions? And I was saying that the budget so far has been very weak on development expenditure and limited in large measure to recurrent expenditure and transfers and subsidies to state enterprises and to people in need. Now, when the Minister of Finance came for the midterm review, he said he wanted to watch a number of things. And we have a caller on the line, and we'll take that call because we don't want him to wait. But I will identify for you what are some of the things he said we needed to watch in the midterm review, and we want to see in this budget how he has watched them. Okay? Let's take the caller. Good morning.
Hi, morning, Dr. Bo.
How are you?
Good. I congratulate you on your show and what you are continuing to do and how you educate the Trinidad public.
Thank you.
With respect to the budget, right, I want to talk just a minute on local government, right? Okay. In terms of subvention from central government to the corporations. I'm involved in one of the corporations as a councillor. And, it is really, really sad to see what's happening with the services that are being provided to the people of this country. Every single person is paying their tax dollars. And when they pay their tax dollars, they expect minimal services to them, essential services to them. And when you can't have maybe garbage services being provided because a new community has been developed, and most of these new communities are developing, have a lot of professionals living and so on. And sometimes the municipal corporations now, they are starved of funds. And sometimes they try their best to provide it, but because of lack of resources, they are not being able to let's say, engage a new contractor to provide these services and so on. So we find that the services are not being provided. I do hope in this budget coming that serious consideration is being given to ease the woes of the poorer people, or the people who live in these rural areas and so on, that we can have services provided to them. Dr. Bo, what has been told to us? That when you submit when you are submitting now for this financial year, we told us a few months ago, when you are submitting your budget, take a cut. You have to cut now. They directed the CEOs to cut the budget. And when every single thing is going up, COVID has hit the place, sanitation services need to be improved and increased in this present scenario of the health situation. And they are telling the corporations they must cut their budget from already a low budget. I remember, Dr. Bo, in prior to 2015, certain budgets were about $35-40 million more than what exists now. How are we going to survive? And yet the government now wants to spend hundreds of millions on other issues that are not affecting the daily lives of our people. So I do hope that the Minister of Finance take cognizance and understand the needs of the people, the daily needs of people, and be able to provide for them in some better way, Dr. So this is what what I'm saying this morning. So I do hope that the Minister of Finance, the authorities listen and ensure that finances are provided so that the citizens could have the basic services. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. There are 14 local government areas in Trinidad, and they serve large numbers of people. They are quite significant in the services that they can provide. But again, you need resources in order to do that. The councillor who was speaking did not indicate how much they were asked to cut the budget by. But when you take the proportion of recurrent expenditures for wages, etc., and the amount of money you really have to provide goods and services and any kind of development expenditure, I think that is where the issue is too. So the issue of how much money, in addition to the proportion of expenditure on what things, and the pattern of expenditure, what you spend the money on to bring value to the community, is really, really critical. So we will see what the government does in the budget for local government. It's a very important thing, and this government has said that local government is very important, and they wanted to have major reforms in local government. But the first thing that you have to do is to make local government survive and be responsive to their charges under their jurisdiction. So thank you very much for your contribution. We really appreciate it. Okay, is there someone else on the line? All right, so we continue. I was telling you that in the midterm review, the Minister of Finance mentioned things that the minister is keeping an eye on. And let me tell you what he said. He said he's keeping an eye on the debt to GDP ratio. Now, the Auditor General reported in April 2021 on the year which ended in September 2020. And the Auditor General indicated that the public debt at that time was 90 billion, and with the contingent liabilities came up to about 132 billion, and that the debt to GDP ratio was 82.7%. With additional borrowings since then, we may be close to or maybe slightly over 90% as the Minister of Finance comes to the House to read the budget. So we will see then how he is watching this issue. So he said he would watch it, so we want to see how he will watch it and what is he going to say about it. The other thing that he said that he would watch is the overdraft with the central bank. Based on drawdowns from the exchequer account, this was $42 billion, the highest it has ever been in the history of the country, in September 2020. Now, we won't know unless the minister tells us what it is up to, let's say, September 30th, because he will be talking on October 4th. And if the minister wants to tell us, he can ask the central bank, because they have daily figures and they know what is happening. And he will be able to give us the number. But I don't know if he will give us the number. As I said, it was 42 billion in September 2020. So if he does not give us the number and refuses to give us the number later on, and no one gives us the number, we will have to wait until April 2022 to know what that number was in September 2021. The other thing that he said he would look at carefully was the issue of revenue. All right? When the budget was read, that's to say the last budget, which ends at the end of September, end of October, when that budget was read, $41 billion in revenue was anticipated. The revenue, depending on fluctuations in oil and gas prices and on oil and gas production, can range in Trinidad and Tobago within our current period between $35 and $42 billion these days. So we will see how this turns out. And when I come back, I will explain a little bit more about the revenue, but I want to take this caller who is on the line. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Yes, hi. I just want to congratulate you on a great program. I mean, I watch every morning. It's very educational.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so essentially, I always look forward to the budget every year. And, you know, I think at least for the past decade, there have been the same conversations. You know, we say more or less the same things in terms of what we want to see. And I think what we really require is transformational leadership across the board to really effect the kind of change and the transformation required in state agencies and stuff like that. So some of the things I want to see, especially in education, is a total revamp of the curriculum to really prepare our students, you know, for the fourth industrial revolution. And I mean, I think we're way behind in comparison to the other countries in the world where artificial intelligence and robotics and all these things are concerned. So I think we really need to prepare our students for the future. My concern also is public sector reform in terms, again, of digital transformation and you know, making it easier for us to do transactions, you know. I don't want to have to go to a government agency and have to take an entire day off from work just to do simple transactions, standing in line for hours, you know. And so essentially, you know, a budget is supposed to improve the well-being of a country over a period of time. People, and I think that is the key thing. You know, we talk every day about the horrible traffic. When we talk about traffic, we're talking about people having to leave south to go to Port of Spain to do transactions or to go to work. What about, you know, remote working? What will be our policy concerning remote working? Are the unions, the trade unions talking to employers about these things? You know what I mean? So we need to rethink, reimagine, re-engineer nearly everything and to really impact positively on our way of life. You know, so I'm really looking forward to something of substance in the budget on Monday. And I think, you know, I want to be an optimist. You know what I mean? I mean, we know about the issues. I don't want to be depressed over it. I want to think positively, you know, so I'm hoping for the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much for such a positive contribution and a meaningful one. You talked about curriculum revamp. You talked about public sector reform to meet the requirement of digitalization and the curriculum revamp to meet the requirements of the fourth industrial revolution. You talked about human well-being and welfare. You talk about issues like remote working that is taking place now and what is our policy on it. And you said something very important. You said we've got to rethink, reimagine, and re-engineer. I want to agree with you totally. COVID has hit us a good lash, and it has basically kind of leveled down the ground. We are at ground zero. Whatever we assumed before, we can't assume again. We've got to build better for a different kind of world filled with uncertainty and unpredictability. And we really do have to do, like you say, and I want to use your words again, to rethink, reimagine, and re-engineer. And I want to thank you sincerely for your contribution. Now, before that caller made that substantial comment, I was talking about revenue, and I just want to finish that before we take a break. So one of the questions we have to ask about revenue are the sources of revenue and any taxes or other measures to increase revenue, are those going to be in the budget? We already have some taxes, that's to say the property tax. We will see whether there'll be any announcement on that. That is pre-budget. So if this issue of revenue, we have to look at the issue of taxes, whether we'll get it. And the Minister of Finance himself said this about revenue. Income from energy company taxes, other company taxes, income from royalties, income from extraordinary revenue has fallen short of targets by $2.5 billion cumulatively. Now, since then, the price of oil has moved up quite significantly. And the price of gas is also significantly better. However, our production remains pretty low. And we don't know how that is going to translate in terms of revenue and the relationship between actual revenue and the revenue projection. So we'll be looking closely at the revenue situation, but we'll also be looking to see whether the minister imposes any taxes to deal with revenue shortfalls and to deal with the revenue side of his budget. So we take a break now. We have some commercials and we'll be right back. And you are free to call on 609-6283, 609-6284.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
Mangalese Trading Company Limited. Specialist in PVC ceiling, gypsum ceiling, suspended ceilings, medallions, lights, metal framings, and SPCS flooring, known as vinyl plank. Now introducing Mangalese Foods, wholesale and retail, distributor of the family brand of food items. Our range of products include rice, sugar, chickpeas, split peas, and soybean oil. Mangalese Foods deliver exceptional products. We offer timely and efficient service. We are located at 9 Francis Lala Road, Charlieville, Chaguanas. Contact us at 672-9889, 740-5569, or 336-4373.
Mangalese Trading Company Limited.
You did the right thing. So now we're giving you things. Republic Bank thanks you and wants to reward you for getting vaxxed. Win $5,000 in prizes every week, plus one of 2 cars in December. You took care of your health, and now we're taking care of you. $5,000 and a chance to win a car. See press and log on to republictt.com for details.
Sport is in trouble. What can be done to save sports in TNT? Join host Gordon Pear on Sports Insight every Monday and Wednesday on MCTV from 4:30 p.m. as he identifies the problems, look for solutions, and points the way forward. Sports Insight, where we talk to the coaches, athletes, administrators, and of course, you, the fans, as we bring positive change through sport.
Welcome back. This is Brighter Morning with Bo, and I am Bo Tewarie, and so happy to be talking with you and to be engaging you on issues related to the budget as we move towards Budget Day on October 4th, that is Monday. You can call 609-6283. Please feel free, 609-6284, and we will discuss. We were talking about revenue just now, and let me share this piece of information with you. On the issue of energy and energy revenues, this is what the Minister of Finance said in the midterm review. I quote from him: "The lower production of natural gas and lower prices of natural gas have affected us significantly. Under $3 and 2.6 standard cubic feet per day led, instead of 3.2 billion, in other words, there was a shortfall in production from 3.2 projected to 2.6 billion. And the price was also low because they had used $3 as the price for natural gas. And oil production was 58,000 barrels. I'm quoting from the minister here, slightly lower than projected. But the prices for oil were better than they had indicated, because they had used a $45 price for oil, and it had been around the time of the midterm review about $51 or so. Now, as I said, the prices of oil and gas have been up, so the chances are the revenue situation is a little better than it might have been if things continued under the medium term. So we will see how that turns out. But all of these are very important issues on the revenue side, and we ask you to pay attention and take note of the numbers. An informed public is very, very important to holding a government to account. You can call 609-6283, 609-6284, and we will continue to discuss. Now, during the weeks leading up to today, we had a number of discussions with different people. And I want to play a clip from one of the economists that we talked to. I wonder if we can go to Patrick Watson, Professor Patrick Watson, and see what he says.
Okay, let me start by the foreign exchange gift.
Could we lift his volume, please? Yeah.
Yes, I could speak louder. I mean, are you hearing me?
We have you now. Good.
Yes, let me speak first to the foreign exchange gift that you mentioned. It's a nice amount, but it's not an elaborately big amount. Remember, we started off when the PNM came into office. There was I think there was about 11 billion.
Yeah.
And that has since declined to about 6. So when they put that, let's say it's $500 million, a little bit more, they have gone back up to a reasonable amount. I mean, we still have a reasonable amount. I think I mentioned that the last time when we had to that the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. There's a good buffer that will take us through before we start to really get into serious difficulty. But the signs of us heading to serious difficulty have not changed. That gift, which is a one-off gift, is not likely to be repeated in the coming months. And the fact is, the next time we speak to the IMF, it could very well be because we want to go into an arrangement which will still involve the special drawing rights, but at this point in time, this will have to be repaid at a very, very modest rate of interest. That is true. But the fact is, it will no longer be like this, and it may be a considerably larger number. And it is likely, not likely, it will be associated with what we famously know as IMF conditionalities. This one, there's no such thing. We are more or less free to do with it as we like. It is a correct thing to use it to finance export orientation. My problem is to what extent this will be properly realized in practice. Because our manufacturing sector, as it is currently structured, and I mentioned this the last time, they do export, and they are worthy of, they are probably capable of exporting much more. But they still require a lot of foreign exchange, and they continue to be net users of foreign exchange. And I cannot see how this will help them in this short period become clearly net earners of foreign exchange. Maybe they may break even on the score, and that is better than nothing, and much better than nothing, because we have our concerns about unemployment in the country. We have.
All right. You were watching Professor Patrick Watson, former head of the ISER, now former head of the Arthur Lewis Salisis Institute in St. Augustine. And he is a distinguished econometrician, and he was expressing his views about foreign exchange and foreign reserves in the country. You can call 609-6283, 609-6284 and express your views. And I want to say something about what he was saying. You see, we have just over $6 billion US now in the reserves at the central bank. And that includes money that we have borrowed and we have put in the central bank reserves for safekeeping. And that includes money that we've taken out of the HSF and put into the foreign reserves until we are ready, the government is ready to use it. And in the HSF, we have just over $5 billion US. And the Minister of Finance is a person who is very pro-borrowing. All right? I want a quote from him in the midterm review. This is what he said. If we stop borrowing, then we cannot finance the fiscal deficit. We cannot do the supplementation, because in the midterm review, they were talking about a supplementation of monies in order to address certain things that they needed to address. We cannot pay salaries, we cannot finance education, healthcare, and provide water and electricity to our citizens at current rates. So I told you the foreign reserve situation. You heard Professor Watson talking about foreign exchange and the difficulty of increasing the earnings of these things, even with an export-oriented manufacturing sector. So as we address this issue, we can't only deal with income and expenditure and pattern of expenditure. I told you we had to watch how much money they were spending and whether the pattern of expenditure was changing. But we also have to look at the amount of deficit. We have to look at debt financing, which is now 20%. It might be more, as the Minister of Finance speaks on the 4th. We have to look at the trade balance, or the balance of payments, and the rate of depletion of foreign exchange. I told you that some of the money in the reserves are borrowed funds. And I told you that some of the money in the reserves are HSF funds. So in that situation, you're really talking about a much more depleted foreign reserves and HSF situation after drawdowns than $5 billion and 6 billion respectively. And he talks about keeping water and electricity prices at the same rates. Other economists, Terence Farrell yesterday, for instance, in The Guardian, was talking about the fact that these rates were extremely low. But when you raise water rates and you're not putting water in people's homes, when you raise electricity rates and you don't have corresponding adjustments in the economy that make life better for them, they don't have jobs and so on, those are problems. So, I mean, the Minister of Finance has a very hard kind of situation to try and resolve here between conserving the foreign reserves and keeping the cost of living down, paying what has to be paid in order to keep the economy going, the debt service obligations, etc. All of these things he's got to manage and try and keep into some measure of balance in the country. Okay? And it is a challenging situation. We don't envy the Minister of Finance. But as somebody said before, hard decisions have to be made, and we will see where he comes down on the decision-making side. We take a break now, this is a commercial break, and we come back with Brighter Morning with Bo.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
Your house is more than just a home. It's the new normal. It's your place of work, your kids' school, and even your gym. It's where you and your family spend most of your time. With over 43 years in the building service industry, let Magic Mist Services Limited take care of your home cleaning and maintenance needs. From ceiling to floor, interior and exterior, allowing you to focus on what matters most to you. Give us a call. Magic Mist Services Limited, your total facilities management solutions provider.
You did the right thing. So now we're giving you things. Republic Bank thanks you and wants to reward you for getting vaxxed. Win $5,000 in prizes every week, plus one of 2 cars in December. You took care of your health, and now we're taking care of you. $5,000 and a chance to win a car. See press and log on to republictt.com for details.
Mangalese Trading Company Limited.
Specialist in PVC ceiling, gypsum ceiling, suspended ceilings, medallions, lights, metal framings, and SPCS flooring, known as vinyl plank. Now introducing Mangalese Foods, wholesale and retail, distributor of the family brand of food items. Our range of products include rice, sugar, chickpeas, split peas, and soybean oil. Mangalese Foods deliver exceptional products. We offer timely and efficient service. We are located at 9 Francis Lala Road, Charlieville, Chaguanas. Contact us at 672-9889, 740-5569, or 336-4373.
Mangalese Trading Company Limited.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Brighter Morning with Bo. I am Bo Tewarie, and we are so happy that you are with us listening to us, and we are asking you to call if you have an input, 609-6283, 609-6284. So I was saying that the minister has a disposition to borrowing, so we will see in the budget whether he wants to borrow more and where this debt is going to take us. I want to mention one other thing, which is that credit worthiness, which is often determined by ratings, by Standard & Poor's and Moody's, has not been good for us. We have been on a downward slide. Standard & Poor's has rated us B minus with a stable outlook, and Moody's have rated us B, common A, 1 with a negative outlook. Both of these ratings put us on a downward spiral in terms of credit worthiness, and in the lower end of medium grade for Standard & Poor's, which is speculative grade or junk status, and Moody's puts us in the speculative junk grade. So these are not good things for us, and I want to, in terms of risk profile, according to Trading Economics, who does risk assessment based on these assessment by Moody's, Standard & Poor's, this might be considered, we might be considered a moderate risk, scoring about 52 out of 100. So these issues are very important, and you know, usually we have an Article 4 consultation with the IMF. The minister is not fond of the IMF. I don't know if he's a little fonder now since they gave him drawing rights of 644 million US. But he had promised at some point to talk to the IMF and to talk to the rating agencies. And I think it'd be useful if the minister would tell us if he has already spoken to the IMF. We've not had an Article 4 consultation since 2018 in Trinidad and Tobago. If he's talked to the IMF, if he's talking to the IDB, if he's talking to CAF, which seems to be the government's preferred lender, whether he's talked to the World Bank, whether he's talked to Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and at one time the Minister of Finance had hitched us on to the bandwagon of Fitch, but they are not, I haven't heard much of them. So I think the minister should report on whether he has met with them or whether he plans to meet with these people, given our debt situation and given our ratings, given our risk profile, and given the downward movement in our assessment, which will impact the interest rates on the borrowing market internationally. So our numbers are 609-6283. You're welcome to call. 609-6284. We're welcome to call. As I said, we have spoken to a lot of people, and I want to give one of the business leaders a chance to say something now. Let's go to Gabriel Farrier, representing the the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce, and hear what he has to say.
We used an example, and we, believe it or not, one of our priorities in the budget is for the government to put in place used an example, and we, believe it or not, one of our priorities in the budget is for the government to put in place the requirements to improve the ease of doing business. And a simple thing like customs has, and you know, other chambers who you would know have been advocating on this. We have to recognize that the government has to recognize its role in being an enabler. It has to deal with the issues. I must tell you, the Minister of Trade has been always very supportive, always working with us. But the reality is that when you look at clearing goods, a simple thing like that, a simple thing like getting your product off the port quickly and efficiently, it creates challenges. Just yesterday, I had someone talking to me about the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau standards and getting certification and getting product cleared. So let's use that as a broad perspective.
Gabriel Faria talking about the need for government to do something dramatic about ease of doing business. We have a caller on the line, and we'll take. Oh, we lost that caller. Sorry. So let's have another clip then. Do you have a clip? All right, we have a call on the line. We'll take that call. And you can call 609-6283. Okay. You have the air. You have the air, sir. Is it a gentleman?
Hi, good morning, Dr. Tewarie.
Morning, ma'am. Hi.
Okay, firstly, I would like to commend you on the great job that you're doing on Bright Morning with Bo. Keep up the good work and continue to be a beacon of light to Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, gosh. Thank you so much.
One thing I would like to bring up in relation to the budget is I knew last year that the Minister of Finance froze all of the public vacancies, and he said that this would have been frozen for 1 year. So I'm curious to see what statement he would make on this matter on Monday. We know that employment continues to be a critical issue in this country, which must be addressed especially for the future generation, the younger population. I mean, COVID has exacerbated the employment situation, but more or less, in spite of the pandemic, we still have graduates from the universities who have graduated last year and recently this year from UE and other institutions. So, young persons are coming out fresh out of the university and they are looking for employment. And then there are those who have already graduated probably a year, 2 years, or even longer, and is still awaiting employment. I mean, as a young person, I would like to see how the budget addresses this whole issue of employment, youth employment specifically. I know COVID has exacerbated the situation, as mentioned before, but I mean the government really needs to plan and think strategically. They need to think innovatively and outside of the box to address this critical issue, which is causing both internal and external brain drain on our country. This has been a major issue even before COVID and a situation which has been distressing for youths. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, thank you for calling. I mean, I hope the government would take note of the very, very serious concerns that have been raised by people who called on this program and the very sincere contributions that they have made. Here's a young lady who graduated from university. I don't know if it was this year, last year, or what the situation was, and talking about the fact that the public service role jobs have been frozen. They have not been opened up. Secondly, graduates are having a hard time getting a job. And she understands the pandemic, but, I mean, people have to work, people have to live, people have to eat, and we are wasting all of this intellectual capital that we have here. And as a result, I hope the government will put something in the budget, the Minister of Finance, that addresses the problem of youth, especially. You have two types of youth, educated youth and youth who have not done well in education, but all of them need to work and to live and to eat and need second chances where they can, and we need to do something about the young people in this country. So we are coming close to the close, and we are going to have to close the show now. But I do want to thank all those callers who have called this morning, and I do want to thank all our sponsors who are supporting this program. And I want to thank you. Without you, the sponsors, and without you, the people who watch MCTV and Brighter Morning with Bo, we would have no show. So this is yours. and we would like you to make the most of it and look at it as an oasis of democracy and democratic discussion that is non-partisan in nature and that is national and developmental in nature, and feel free to come here to express your views. I want to summarize the issues that our callers raised this morning. The issue of rice, the issue of accountability of ministers after the budget is spent over a 12-month period, the issue of leadership and the quality of leadership of our political leaders, the issue of how to govern and what is good governance, the issue of constitution reform, the issue of import substitution in agriculture, the issue of the country crying out for genuine leadership that is exemplary for the population, the cry of local government for funding to provide basic services and in order to ease the woes of poor people, ordinary people who depend on it, the call for transformational leadership, and the hint that if you want to transform the politics, the government, the governance, the economy, the society, it cannot be done with the same kind of leadership. It has to involve transformational leadership. And the call for curriculum revamp, public sector reform, human well-being, remote working, and to rethink, reimagine, and re-engineer the budget. And finally, all I would say to you, budget comes on Monday, and on Monday morning we have Minister Hasselbachus, MP for the opposition, Anita Haynes. We have Ms. Franca Costello, who is head of the investment agency in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have Conrad, Dr. Conrad, who will be speaking with us from an economic point of view. So we have a good show on Monday. Please tune in and be part of it.